Hey guys, welcome. This is Deepika from MyTutorialRack, and today we have with us Amit Arora. He transitioned from being a hotel management employee into Salesforce as a Salesforce consultant, and then today he's working as a Salesforce manager. Welcome, Amit, to this interview, and we are pleasured and happy to have you on this chat. So, how are you doing today?
Thank you. Thank you so much for that intro, Deepika. Good. I'm excited to get started and hopefully, help others with my journey because it's been a long one.
Okay, so walk us through your journey, Amit. Like I heard that you started as in from hotel management, and then now you're becoming now you are a Salesforce manager.
Yeah.
It is a long journey. So walk us through all this.
Yeah, for sure. I started that back in 2006, came to US as an intern. My cousin was a manager at a hotel, and back then his hotel chain did something called J1 visas, which was like a visitor exchange visa. So came on that. I studied hotel management in India, so did my bachelor's in hospitality, and then did that for about 9 years. So from 2006 to 2015, made my way up from being a front desk clerk. You know, you go to a hotel, you check in, there's someone at the front desk that checks you in. That was me. Did that, made my way up to being the general manager for the hotel. And that was for a chain, for a Wyndham Hotel Group chain called Hawthorne Suite. So it's like think of it like a Hampton Inn or similar kind of scale, like a 2.5 star to 3 star hotels. So I was managing a staff of 15, but I'm sure you've stayed at hotels, Deepika. It's like never stops, right?
Yeah.
The hotel is always open, which means me as a GM, I'm always on call. And my wife was doing the same thing. And in 2015, when we had our baby, we were like, well, this life is not sustainable as hospitality professionals if we want to spend time with our kids. And during that time, my friend was teaching me how to be a business analyst. So I said, okay, this is the perfect opportunity for me to switch careers. So then I switched from that to becoming a BA. And the company that hired me was also implementing Salesforce. And I ended up becoming kind of like de facto admin. So I fell into it. It wasn't that I was looking for Salesforce.
Okay, awesome. So it was easy. So after you took the training, you became a Salesforce BA where you started learning Salesforce and now then became a Salesforce consultant. Okay, thank you very
Yeah, there was no training though. It is back in 2015, I was basically learning it on the job. So I got lucky enough that I had some business analyst skills. And I mentioned that in my resume, and they were looking for someone who was fresh, so that person could come in with fresh ideas. So
Okay.
that worked in my favor. And then I just started learning Salesforce because they had a implementation team that they hired to replace a legacy CRM with Salesforce. Now I'm on the business side. Because I was on the business side, I had to learn all the business first. And I had never, like, I was always known hotels all my life. So I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? Do I even belong here? Like that imposter syndrome, right? Like I was from a completely different field. Now I'm going in office and making PowerPoint presentations and stuff. So it was just learning how to be a business analyst. And on top of that, learning the new industry. On top of that, learning Salesforce. So it was a lot of learning, but I was lucky that the implementation team had a developer who was on site with us,
Hmm.
and he was just teaching me every single day. So I skipped the basics, I would say, of learning Salesforce and went straight to like advanced stuff. Like at that time, Process Builder was big, workflows were big. So I started learning that.
Okay. And you also worked as a Salesforce consultant. So were you also doing programming as well, or you were doing more of admin stuff?
Yeah, good question. I was always been on the config side, never really programming. And I'll walk through how that came along. It was funny because so this utility company in Connecticut, I'm their admin now, been there 2 years. So now we are in a stable position with Salesforce because we've implemented it, got rid of the legacy CRM. We're on Classic because this is like 2017. And now we want to enhance it. So now we're looking for another implementation partner who's local because we want someone who can be boots on the ground. And I Google, and the first result that comes up is Slalom. Never heard of them. I have no clue what consulting firms that do at this point, right? So we reach out to them. We have a meeting with their business development executive. We meet for lunch. Him and I really hit it off, but we find out they are way too expensive. We cannot afford slalom. But that guy and I stay in touch because we just liked talking to each other. We go on more lunches. And I think it was like December 2017. It seemed like he was offering me a job or asking me to, not directly, but indirectly asking me to come talk to someone at Slalom. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll send you my resume. Sent him my resume and I forgot about it. And then 2 months later, they reach out saying, hey, we are growing our CRM practice in Hartford, Connecticut. Would you want to come chat with us? So went and talked to them. And at the same time, so rewind a bit, I was with this utility company as a contractor. I was really working for Robert Half, and then they knew that Robert Half was not paying me well. So I think Robert Half is called that because they keep half your paycheck. I don't know why that's called. Maybe that's the reason. So they to keep me with them, that first implementation company that did the whole Salesforce implementation, they got them to hire me. They're like, please hire Amit, send him to us, and give him more money. So they
Oh,
were
wow.
really nice to me about it. Like no one does that, right? And that was a lucky thing that worked in my favor. So while I'm applying to Slalom, this utility company is also trying to hire me full time, but at that time they had a freeze. And Slalom comes with an offer letter. And Deepika, you know the IT world. Like as a hotel general manager, I was making $55,000, which to some is a lot. To me, like me and my family wasn't like we are a family of four or at three at this point. So now Slalom comes in and is giving me like 100K. I'm like, yeah, I am taking this job.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's how I entered the consulting world, but it was more doing what I was doing as an admin, just doing it for different clients. So I was never a programmer, but it was more robust. Like I need to know my formulas, I need to know my process builders, I need to learn flows and learn how to implement flows. So it was a constant learning experience.
So people who think that you need to know programming or to become a Salesforce developer, I believe just with Amit's experience, you can be a good Salesforce admin and make good money as well. So moving on, what certifications will you recommend people who are starting out? Like which there are tons of certifications that Salesforce offers. What are the
Yeah.
top five, I would say, which people should definitely go for?
Let me rewind back to Slalom, right? When I applied there, they were just growing their practice. I had one certification, which was Salesforce Admin 201, right? The basic one. And I had done that just to see if I could get it. I had no reason to do it. I was already working as an admin at this utility company. So there was no motivation for me to do it other than me just seeing, can I do it? And with Slalom, because how consulting firms work, they pitch you as a resource to a client. So they have to show your resume to this client and they want to show all the certifications you had. So they pushed me to get more. If I was starting today, I would recommend Salesforce admin, the basic 201, advanced admin, platform app builder, and then also the business analyst one. And I think because AI is everywhere, I would say maybe even the AI specialist, and especially because that one is free today, right? It's
Yeah.
free till end of next December, 2025. So those would be my top five recommendations.
Okay. And how will you suggest people who are, as a fresher, completely new, just finished their college, how can they land and what all things they should do to get their first job? That is one of the challenge I see a lot of people face where it's like, okay, I'm having difficulty finding my first job. So what will you recommend them? What tools and resources they should use to get their first job?
Yeah, it's one of those, it reminds me of that meme where this guy is telling to his son, go get a job. And the son says, well, I don't have experience. He's like, okay, then go get experience. He's like, how do I get experience if I don't have a job? So it's
I
like the
that is
catch 22 of life, right?
so that's the main thing. So what will you recommend people with those?
Yeah, so I would say obviously just first thing is go into the Salesforce community where people ask those questions and start solving those questions in your own dev org, right? Salesforce gives everyone a free dev org where you get it's full functionality for most of their like Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, right? You don't get some of the clouds are not available, like you don't get a Marketing Cloud dev org. But start solving those problems by yourself. Even if someone has solved it, go rebuild it and solve it in your own org so you get hands-on experience. That's my first advice. Go look at YouTube videos, your channel, Deepika, and others, and look at how people are creating flows, how people are creating process builder is phasing out. So I wouldn't even recommend that. Stick to flows. How are people doing it? Go rebuild that same exact thing in your own org. So that's the first step is getting the experience in your own org. To me, it was I just built my own like so I have this massive Google spreadsheet of my finances, like what are my credit cards, my monthly bills, etc. I rebuilt that in Salesforce as a custom object. Do those things. Like what do you do in your daily life? Try to replicate that in Salesforce. Then there are volunteer programs. Salesforce has some, so you can just search Salesforce nonprofit programs and apply to those where these nonprofits you will get hired with for no money, but it'll give you the experience of working in a nonprofit organization because Salesforce gives away free licenses to nonprofit orgs, like 10 licenses for free. They have a special cloud for that called nonprofit cloud, right? So you get to learn that. And then there's also, I want to say, like Salesforce Vet Force for veterans. You can go there and look for jobs. And then finally, in your neighborhood, just post. Most neighborhoods have groups these days, whether it's Facebook groups or um, what's the other one? I forgot the name. There's some apps, right, to connect with your neighbors. Post in there, hey, I'm learning the skill. Can anyone use it? And
Mm,
then reach out to your LinkedIn network, build your network, and offer free help. Because in the beginning, no one's going to hire you
yeah.
because you don't have the experience, right? So going back to that catch 22. So those are some of the steps I would take.
Okay, thank you. And also, if somebody already has, if they lost the job, what steps are you going to tell them to find their next project? Because market situation is pretty tight these days. Everybody is looking to open for work. So, what will you recommend and suggest them what they should do?
Yeah, I this happened to me. So on July 1st of this year, I got laid off. At that point, I was a business systems director for a company, and I was on the market for like 3.5 months. I I would say LinkedIn was the best resource for me. Not even LinkedIn Premium, forget LinkedIn Premium, just basic LinkedIn. And I was using ChatGPT to tailor my resume for every single job I posted. So use the AI tools that are available to us, is it Gemini, ChatGPT, and Salesforce admins. We are hackers, right? We are good at this stuff, so we should have no reason to send a canned resume to every single job opening. And I would say be the first one to apply or try to be, because I feel like after the first 50 resumes, they stop looking because in the first 50 they're gonna find their top five candidates.
Yeah,
And because the market pool right now, when we are recording this, is so many layoffs have happened, you are competing against the best. So that's the hardest part is just be the first one to apply. I one trick that I would give is sometimes on LinkedIn when you're applying, it will tell you that, hey, your connection works here. Now, how I leveraged it is not in a sleazy way of saying, hey, I see you work here. Can you hook me up? There's nothing in that for them. And just because you have a connection with them doesn't mean that they know you. You guys might have added each other on LinkedIn, right? So what I do is I approach this person and say, hey, I see you are my common connection. Can I use you as a referral before I apply for this job so you get a cut if I get applied or
yeah,
if I get selected? Now
that's
they have skin in the game
yeah,
and they're like, wow, this guy reached out to me and he wants to give me, because most companies have a referral bonus program, right?
yeah,
So look for that common connection and then message them that. I've had a couple of people who said, wait, don't apply. I'm going to internally apply for you on your behalf so I get the referral. So help them out instead of looking for them to help you out.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point you have made about reaching out to those connections. So, how did you become from hotel management into Salesforce admin, Salesforce consultant, and now you are a Salesforce program people's manager? So,
Yep.
how can somebody follow that journey? What will you recommend them to get into your place?
So getting to switching careers, I know it's hard, especially when you're stepping into the unknown, right? I have my buddy here who lives down the street from me. He's an insurance adjuster. I've told him so many times, you could be doubling your income by doing this, but it's the devil you know versus the devil you don't.
Yeah,
And you have to have the drive, first of all, to do it. So I had no safety net. I was like, my son is here. I'm not going to miss time with him. I have to do this. So that's the first thing, having that fire and passion to just want to switch. With that, Salesforce has a great program called Trailhead, where they teach you everything for free. Sign up to Trailhead, and Deepika, you might have some trails. I can go and find some of my old trails, and we can put that in the description so our viewers can click those links. So there are trails made for admins. Follow those trails. It teaches you real life problems and how to solve them in your own play org, right? They call it, I forget what they call it, but I call it the playground. Yeah, I
yeah,
think it's called the playground org. Solve those, go through the trails. That would be the step one. And then again, going back to go find what are people saying the problems they are having and solve that. So that would be the first step in switching careers. But you can do this on your off time. Maybe you have 2 hours in the morning before work or at night. If you are a parent, you have time when your kids go to bed. If you really have that willpower to not hit the couch and Netflix and instead do this, even if it's an hour a day, in 30 days you're going to be putting in 30 hours of work that no one else is doing out there. So that would be my recommendation, is finding that pockets of time and just going through the trailhead. And then you keep building your LinkedIn profile too. Like, people love boasting about they made a ranger, which is like 100 points, right? Or 100 badges. So
yeah,
you get up to 100 badges. So trailhead, for those of you who are watching this, it's like a Salesforce gamification platform where you get to learn Salesforce, but you also get points and badges. And it's kind of like, whose line is it anyway, where the points don't matter, but it's to for fun, right? It's to gamify it, to be on the leaderboard, and it'll also teach you, is this the right thing for you? Because some people get in it, they're like, no, this is too complex, or this, I can't see myself doing this day in and day out. But that transition for me, it just fell in my lap because the consultant role, they reached out to me. Now
yeah.
you and I collaborated, Deepika, and I have a course that you promote for me, which is how to become a consultant. So we'll put that link in the description. That's for those who are already admins and want to take that next step to being a consultant. Because as a Salesforce admin, I was at like 85K salary. Consultant slalom, it was like 20K more. And then from there, it just kept going up and up and up. Same thing when I became a business systems director, they reached out to me. So I wasn't really looking actively. They reached out to me. They must have found me through Indeed. And it just happened to fall in my lap. But once you become a consultant, you learn how different orgs work in different companies. You start learning the systems. Then I think the biggest missing piece, and I don't know, Deepika, if this happens in your job, is understanding the business side of things.
Yeah.
Once you understand that, it's up for grabs. Anything is up for grabs, because that's the missing piece for admins, is mostly admins are order takers.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we want to build this. We want you to build it.
Yeah.
You need to put your solutioning hat on and say, how can I best build this? And that again comes from experience. So in the beginning, yes, we'll all be order takers, but once you start figuring out Salesforce, you're going to learn and you're going to, oh, I could actually do this instead of that. And that's where the business knowledge comes in. So go in with wanting to learn the business and the product.
Thank you. And then you want to talk more about the Salesforce Consultant course that we have you created, and I have it on my website as well if people are interested.
Yes, yes. Let's give our viewers and listeners a coupon code too. So we'll put that in the description. But it really came out of my just squeezing all my knowledge of how did I get to slalom and what I did at slalom, right? So I've taken a real world project that I did for a client, took all the client names out. And that one is what I was talking, that next level to go from admin is teaching you how this project works. How do we create user stories in Jira? How do we put those stories through sprints? And all those things you will learn as an admin, but as a consultant, you actually live and breathe those things. You're inside a sprint, you're inside a user story, you're building that story in a dev org and then promoting it to a production org. So I teach all of that in the course, how to send a change set over. So all those things that I used to do day in and day out, I've squeezed that knowledge so that people don't have to put in years to learn. If you're an admin and you've been an admin, even if I would say at least a year or more, then that course is for you.
And I think this that will also be good for somebody who just want to get a feel of real world. Like people, they learn trails, they do the certifications, but they don't know exactly what happens when they do their first
Yeah.
job. So this course is definitely going to help them to kind of give an idea on what to expect on the first day, what kind of terms people use, and you don't just feel like out of place. So this course will definitely be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. It's like all the technical, not just technical, right? Business jargon, like
Yeah.
story points, playing poker. And like at first I used to think they are literally going to play poker. I'm like, what are we talking about here?
No, definitely. So I will put a link of this course in the description. Thank you, Amit. Thank you for taking the time to interview with us. Really appreciate it. I think you have shared a lot of knowledge and wisdom with us, and I think the audience is definitely going to love it. And we
Thank you.
loved having you on this podcast today. Thank you very
All
much.
right. Hopefully I'll come back for round two.
Yes, you will.